Welcome to Unit 2, Lesson 5 of CKLA Skills. Today, we will be practicing our new spelling words, reading our tricky words, and we're going to start a new part of our ELA block. We are going to start with the writing process. So we're going to identify the different parts of the writing process. Remember, each week you will have a list of spelling words. Be sure and study these words throughout the week. Look at these rules that are applied to these spelling words. So this week we will be using the ing, the suffix ing. And we're going to talk about some different rules for adding ing to a word. There will also be that tricky word, the last word on your list. This word you will need to memorize the spelling because there will be something in that word that does not follow the rules. We're going to practice reading your spelling words. Now, the first time we read the word, we'll read the word without the suffix. So this will be the base word or the root word. Then we're going to add an ing to the word. So when you add an ing to the end of a word, it makes it happen right now. So ing is the suffix that is present tense, meaning it is happening right now. This word is smile. Show me a smile. We all know what a smile is. The girl will smile at her mother. Now let's change the word with the suffix ing. This word becomes smiling. So this means we are smiling right now. The girl is smiling at her mother. Now notice when we add ing to smile, what do we drop at the end of smile? Good, we drop that E at the end of smile. And that E was the sneaky E. It was that magic E that made the I say its name in smile. So we drop the E and we add our suffix ing. Now let's say the word smiling. Let's put our finger in the air and let's write the word smiling. S-M-I-L-I-N-G. Smiling. Now here's another one that ends in an E, this magic E. So this word is race. So the E makes the A say its name. Now the rule for E, drop the E and add your suffix ing. So if you're racing someone, trying to beat them, the students will race the teacher. Now let's write it with ing, our suffix ing. So you'll drop the E and add ing. This word becomes racing. So it's the present tense. It's happening right now. The class is racing the teacher. So it's happening right now. Let's put our finger in the air and let's write the word racing. R-A-C-I-N-G. Racing. Okay, here's another one that ends with our magic E. So the rule is to drop the E before we add ing. This word is hope. If you hope for something, you wish for it. You want it to happen. Hope. I hope we go to gym today. Now we've dropped the E and we've added our ing. This word becomes hoping. The girl was hoping to go to the gym. So that means it's happening right now. I was hoping we would go to gym today. Say the word hoping. Hoping. Now let's put our finger in the air and write the word hoping. H-O-P-I-N-G. Hoping. Now when you're practicing these words at home, you may want to write the base word, mark the E out or erase the E and add your suffix ing. That may help you a little bit with reading the word and knowing the word. Now this word is a little different because this is the short vowel sound. You don't see the sneaky E on this word. It looks very similar to hope, but what is this word? This word is hop. Say the word hop, hop. Now the rule with the short vowel sound, if you have a short vowel and a consonant, just like with your ed suffix ending, you double the consonant and add your suffix. So this word would become hopping. When you double your P, the word becomes hopping. You have to be very careful because you see that P doubled. That helps you to remember that's a short vowel sound. So that word is hopping. Let's put our finger in the air and write the word hopping. H O P P I N G. Be very careful this week because hoping and hopping look very similar. But hopping has a short vowel, so you double the consonant. She was hopping quickly through the hopscotch. She's doing it right now, right? Hopping. All right, another one of our sneaky E's, our magic E's. This makes that A say its name. So this word is bake. Bake. Bake is to cook something, to make it bake in the oven, to cook it in the oven. Drop the E and add ing. This word becomes baking. Mason is baking a cake for his birthday. Baking. Let's write our word. Put your finger in the air and let's write it. B A K I N G. Baking. This word, I want you to kind of break it apart. There's a little word at the beginning of this word. Do you see the word in? I see the word in. It's I-N. Okay, now look at the other part of the word. You have V-I-T-E. So that E at the end of this word makes that I say its name. So this word is invite. It's a two-syllable word. Invite. Say the word invite. Invite. Now we're going to drop our E before we add our suffix ing. And if you invite someone somewhere, you're asking them to come to something. You're giving them permission to come to maybe a party or maybe your house. You're inviting. So if it happens right now, you're inviting. So we drop the E and we add an ing. Pam was inviting everyone in her class to her birthday party. Let's write the word inviting in the air. So put your finger up and let's write the word inviting. I N V I T I N G. Inviting. When you're spelling that word this week, break it up into two different syllables. Invite. That will help you to break the word apart and spell it easier. Inviting. Okay, same thing with this word. We're going to break it apart. The first part of the word, the first syllable, you've got a vowel sound in every syllable. So remember, when your mouth is closed, every time you open your mouth to say a word, every time you open your mouth, that counts as a syllable. The first sound in this word is con. Do you see the letters that make up con? Good. C-O-N. Now the second part of the word, you have a sneaky E or a magic E, and it's going to make that U say its name. This word is confuse. Confuse. If you confuse someone, you're kind of making them kind of tricked a little bit. So if you're confused, you really don't understand something. Something's making you really think about it and question what you're doing. Confuse. Now let's drop the E and let's add our suffix ing. This word becomes confusing. The math lesson today was very confusing. So it's happening right now in the present tense. Let's put our finger in the air and write the word confusing. C-O-N-F-U-S-I-N-G. Confusing. Okay, now we have another one of our sneaky E, our magic E words. This word is taste. Taste. You taste with your taste buds in your mouth. So taste is a sense. It's what you taste when you eat. So you think about like a taste could be good or bad. It could be sour. It could be sweet, tart. Taste. It could also be an action. So if you taste something, it's when you're eating it and you're making that judgment. Is it sour? Is it sweet? Now we'll drop our E and we'll add our suffix ing. This word becomes tasting. The class was tasting the cupcakes to see which one they liked the best. Tasting. Let's put our finger in the air and let's write tasting. T-A-S-T-I-N-G. Tasting. Now you see that this word has two vowel sounds in it. You've got your O alone with no sneaky E. And then you've got your E followed by an E. So it's separated by that consonant. So we know that's a long E because of our magic E. This word is compete. So separate your word, compete. Separate it with syllables to make it easier to read. Compete. If you compete for something, you are going against someone. It could be a game. You're trying to see you have a winner. So compete. You are going against someone in a game or maybe a sport. Compete. Say the word compete. Now let's drop the last E and add our suffix ing. Competing. The team was competing for the first place trophy. Let's put our finger in the air and write the word competing. C-O-M-P-E-T-I-N-G. Competing. Now we've got our tricky word. This tricky word is were. Say were. Were. Now I know sometimes you guys want to put where in there, but I want you to remember that the word where has the word here in it. So like a location. You don't have an H in this word. So this word is not where. This word is were. Say it again. Were. We were paying attention in class. Were. What's the word? Good. Were. Be sure and take your family letter or your parent letter 6.1 out of your packet. Keep it on your refrigerator. Keep it somewhere at home so you can study these words throughout the week. As you're studying them, talk about the base word, how it changes, dropping that E for a long, sneaky E before you add ing. That one word hopping where you double your consonant because it has a short vowel. And really practice that tricky word. So take a minute now to take your parent letter out and bring it to someone at home so they can take a look at these words for the week. Now let's practice our tricky words. Remember, these are words that do not play by the rules, so there's something in them that's a rule breaker. R. You are doing a great job. Were. We were exercising in PE. It's our word of the week. Some. Get some sleep tonight. This week we are going to start a new section in our ELA block, and we're going to start the writing process. The first writing process that we're going to look at is a fictional narrative writing. So fictional we know means fake. Narrative means we're telling a story. So we're going to tell a fake story. We're going to learn this process first. We're going to practice the process together. And you guys are going to be much better at doing this process on your own when we finish our fictional narrative planning. This is the chart that we're going to use and make reference to throughout our writing process lesson. This is the process that you will use to write your fictional narrative. So we're going to talk about each one of these parts in depth. So we're going to kind of take each part and we're going to do each part as we go through our writing process. Now we'll refer back to this chart quite a bit. If you look at the word write, it's much like your spelling words for the week. The word write ends with that magic E. So when you add that suffix ing to make it happen right now, so if we're writing right now, we drop that E and add our suffix ing. The word becomes writing. Now I know that you've read tons of books and you even have some of your favorite books that you've read. Now even these well-known authors use this writing process to write the books that you love and enjoy. So when you think about this writing process, this is very common and very usable for all writers. Now let's really look at our writing process chart. And let's talk about each one of these processes, each one of the steps and what it really means. The first step is planning. So if you plan, you're thinking about what you're going to write before you write it. You're getting an idea of what you're going to write about. Now, if you go on a trip, you have to plan ahead. You have to think about what you're going to pack. You have to think about what to put in your suitcase, what will fit, what will not fit, what you'll need, what's the most necessary things that you have to pack. So planning is a part of all of our life processes. But when you write, you start thinking about how you're going to organize it. You start planning before you write. Today, we're really going to focus on this planning part of our process. Now, before you write, you will hear the word brainstorm quite a bit. Brainstorming is where you kind of put like a storm in your brain. You're kind of thinking of all the different things that you could write about, or you're kind of getting your brain moving in the direction of what you're talking about. So when someone asks you to brainstorm, they're asking you to think in your head of all the possible answers or the possible ways. The second part is a draft. This is where you take that brainstorming, that planning, the thinking that you just did, and you put it on paper. Now, when you write your draft, it doesn't have to be well organized. It doesn't have to be complete sentences. It's kind of like we call it a rough draft sometimes because it's not your best writing, but it's all those thoughts that you just had and putting them on paper. So your draft is the writing part of that brainstorming. So if you are drafting a list of things to pack, you may not write it in complete sentences. You may just make a list of something, but you're writing down what just happened in your head. The third step in the writing process is edit. If you are editing your draft, this is where you put your incomplete draft complete. So you're going to make those sentences good, complete sentences. You're going to reread your draft and look for those mistakes. Now, the editing process takes a little while, and sometimes you have to reread it more than once to make sure you have fixed all of those mistakes. Now let's review these steps again. So I want you to read the steps with me. The first part, plan. Remember, planning is where you're thinking ahead. The second part, draft. This is where you're writing those things down that are popping in your head. The third part, edit. This is where you take that draft and you reread it and you fix the things in it to make it good, complete, make it flow for your reader. And the last step is to publish. So if you publish it, it's like our authors of our books, when they put their book out for others to read, they are publishing it. So this is your final step. This is when you are ready for others to read it. Now, throughout this unit, we have read several stories from our reader bedtime tales. You may have used the Amplify website, but these stories are compiled into bedtime tales, which is your reader of Unit 2. Your stories that we have read in the bedtime tales reader, we're going to use these stories to do some writing and develop our writing process together. Now let's review some of our story elements first. The title. The title is the name of the story. The title helps you to predict and think about what's going to be in the story. Characters. Characters are the people or animals in the story. Setting. Setting is where or when the story takes place. So it could be the time of day, it could be the location. Plot. The plot is the problem and the events in the story. It's usually what happened at the beginning, in the middle, and how it ended. Today we're going to use these story elements and fill out a graphic organizer on the story, The Milk. Now we've read the story, The Milk, together already. We've read it in class. Now we're going to read it again and we're going to discuss our story elements. We're going to use our story elements to write about the story, The Milk. Now, if you'd like to go ahead and find page 31 in your packet, we're going to use this graphic organizer to discuss and kind of draft our ideas, brainstorm, think about the story, The Milk. So you can pause the video and find page 31 in your packet. We read the story, The Milk, last week together. Now, as I'm reading it to you this time, I want you to really pay close attention to the title of the story, the characters, the setting, and the plot. You're going to have to complete your assignment using listening comprehension. So you're going to have to really be a good listener so you can remember what was read in the story. The Milk. Mike's dad was getting set to tell a bedtime tale. He said the name of this bedtime tale is The Milk. Once upon a time, a lass named Jane set off from home to sell a bucket of milk. As she went, she was thinking of the cash she would get from selling the milk. I have big plans. I will sell this milk, she said, and I will use the cash to get a hen. I hope my hen will make lots of eggs. Then I will sell those eggs and use the cash to get a cute piglet. I will take care of the piglet and let him munch on pig slop till he gets nice and plump. Then I will sell the pig and get a nice dress that I can dance in. But just as she was thinking of the dress, she tripped on a stone and the bucket fell with a crash. The milk splashed on the path. Jane made a face and fumed at the spilt milk. The moral, remember moral means lesson, take one step at a time. Is that the end? Asked Mike. That's it, said his dad. What a shame, said Mike. She had such big plans. Mike's dad nodded. You can make plans, but planning by itself will not always make things happen. Mike sat thinking a bit. Then he said, Dad, that bedtime tale was not bad, but it was sad. Next time, would you tell me a fun tale? Yes, said Dad. Next time. Now let's complete each section of page 31 together. Think about your characters. Pause the video. Think about your characters, brainstorm for a minute. Who was in the story? Now, our main character was Jane, right? We know a little bit about Jane, too. Jane had big dreams, big plans. Jane had a lot to say. Now, your other characters in the story, you had Dad and you had the little boy that was going to bed. Well, those would be your supporting characters. Those wouldn't be your main characters. The main character that develops your moral or teaches your lesson is Jane. So write Jane on your paper now. Now let's think about the setting of the story. So setting is where or when the story took place. Think about the most important place and time that helped develop your understanding of the story. Now this is one of those stories that we use Dad telling the story in order to kind of introduce this folk tale or this old tale. So the setting of our story about Jane, it was a long time ago, wasn't it? Did you say a long time ago? Good. It happened outside. Being outside, that's really important to know because it helped develop, she's walking, she hits the rock. You can kind of see it in your head. She's probably on a farm. She was walking in the road. Those things help us to understand the story. So take some time now and pause the video and make sure that you have your setting updated because this is going to help us tomorrow when we write our writing assignment on the milk. Now let's think about our plot. What happened at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story? So we'll start with beginning. So take a minute now. What was the beginning event that Jane had? How did the story start? When Dad started telling the story about Jane, what was the first thing that happened to Jane? Good. Jane puts milk in a bucket to sell. If Jane wouldn't have put that milk in the bucket, then none of the other events would have happened. So when you're looking for that beginning event, it's something you can't take out of the story. It would change the meaning of the story. Her putting that milk in the bucket to sell is what started your story off. Now, Jane has the milk in the bucket to sell. What was your event that happened in the middle of the story? Now, this is leading to your conclusion, your end event. Jane's making plans, isn't she? She's talking about she's going to sell the milk. She's going to buy remember what she was going to buy? She was going to buy a hen, and then she was going to buy a pig, good. And she was going to buy a dress. Oh, and as she's making all those plans, she's kind of forget that she's walking down that road, isn't she? Which leads to our last event. So why don't you pause the video and make sure that you have your beginning and your middle events written down. She plans to sell the bucket of milk. Then she makes all these plans of what she's going to use that money for. Now, what was your final most important event? So how did the story end? Now, in these folk tales, you have a lesson learned. So how is that lesson learned? She spilled the milk, right? She gets no cash. You can't spend your money before you get it. Just because you got a plan, you got to take the plan to a whole different level to get that money before you spend it. Don't get in a hurry with things. So when she spilled the milk, all those plans were kind of wasted, right? Don't spend your money before you get it. Write your end event now. Now you're going to take the sheet that we completed today and you're going to keep it and we're going to use it tomorrow. So we're going to talk about this sheet again tomorrow. Now make sure that you have all of your story elements filled out for the story, The Milk. If you need to rewind the video and go back and get those events written down, get those events written down. Okay, now let's review our learning targets before we end today. We practiced our spelling words, our new spelling words for the week. Those were those ing words. You drop the E on a long vowel and add ing. If it's a short vowel, you double the consonant at the end. We read our tricky words, and our new word for the week is were. And we identified different parts of the writing process. So tomorrow we're going to use these story elements for the milk, and we're going to start the writing process. Have a great day.